I feel like that's a good thing, though. It shows your commitment to the...
Okay, but the thing is, like, to make it out from that is also this. Because when I did this, you're like, okay, this one is not like doing exactly like this. And then,
I guess you can take it as, like, simulation of the style.
Yeah.
Of the central style.
Psychology.
Slowly, like, becoming...
Psychology. Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Love
What do you
that.
want to do?
I want to be clinical psychologist.
Okay, whatever.
Same
boat.
Yeah.
Same boat. That's
I
awesome.
want to hear adolescents and make adults.
Okay, same boat. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I really want to work with like teenagers too. Like, I feel like teenagers get such a bad rap. It's really like, I feel like for me, like having my therapist in my team is so supportive, and like I want to be that individual for somebody else.
Mine was like, I started off with really shitty one when I was like younger. So I'm kind of like, I don't really go to what's out there, like someone like now. So I'm like, I want to have that change and like, just gonna
Slide this guy around.
not like a right, but like, be more supportive.
Hi everyone, thank you all so much for coming out here tonight. My name is Jenny and I'm on the events team here at Books Are Magic. Before we get started, I just wanted to point out a couple of logistics for how tonight's going to go. First, Gabi Abrāo wasn't able to come today as planned due to a family situation. However, we still have copies of Notes on Shapeshifting, including the very rare hardcover edition, up at the front for purchase if you want to support her. We'll be doing a hand-raised audience Q&A towards the end of the event, so start thinking of questions to ask now and raise your hand when the time comes. Savannah or Rhiannon will repeat your questions into their mics to ensure that viewers on the live stream can hear. After the talk tonight, Savannah will be signing and personalizing books at the alcove right next to the register at the front of the store. And if you're joining us virtually on the YouTube live stream, we'd love to encourage you to buy a copy of Closer Baby Closer online using the link in the live stream description. Okay, so it's my privilege tonight to introduce Savannah Brown and Rhiannon McGavin, who are here to discuss Savannah's newest poetry collection, Closer Baby Closer. In Closer Baby Closer, the ancient phenomenon of love sits alongside a billionaire's online pillow talk while a cam girl watches from her bedroom tomb. In this dazzling third collection, Brown holds a magnifying glass to modern intimacy with a lens that often burns as bright as it illuminates. These poems pinch and pull through the smallest moments, like someone trying to zoom in on a smartphone photo, or someone in the thrall of a bad habit. Savannah is an American writer and poet based in London. She's the author of 2 novels and 3 poetry collections dealing with themes of existence, vulnerability, and intimacy in the digital age. She also founded and runs Doomsday Press. Rhiannon has failed the California driver's license test 3 times so far, going for a 4th.
I actually got it.
Okay, round of applause. Sorry. She has performed from the Hollywood Bowl to the Library of Congress, as well as on NPR. Her work has been published by Tia Chucha Press, Teen Vogue, and C Magazine, and she was the Youth Poet Laureate of Los Angeles in 2016. So without further delay, everyone please give a very warm welcome to Savannah and Rhiannon.
Thank you. So I'm going to read a couple poems, and then Savannah's going to read a couple poems, and we're going to have a lovely chat. I'm so glad. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that we could all be here, that we got through the biblical omen yesterday. What an inefficient way to clean the subway. I feel like they could have worked on that a little more. Although I did see a wonderful video of the sea lions who had hopped their enclosure at the zoo and were just frolicking around
vibing.
like they owned the world. And I just want to marinate and appreciate the whimsy of that image and not think too much about all the muck that they were probably swimming around in. Just
Lions love muck.
Just enjoy the sea lions having a nice time. It's so wonderful to be here. The sun has come out a little bit more, and I'm going to try and steam things up with some flirty sonnets from my book Grocery List Poems, which is a lot of sweaty summertime love poems. This first one is called Hickey. You do love them. Kisses you can carry with you. A string of dark river pearls kept warm under your collar. Your mouth dizzy, just looking at that summer storm violet over your chest. The red velvet clouds near crackling. You love the shy ritual after. A long turtleneck to cover up those ruffled leaves of purple basil that blush for me. And all of our mornings, worn soft. how your old blue shirt's frayed to lace, so when I wear it, with my legs swinging off the counter as you futz with tea leaves, you see plums. The plums that grow on my skin, backwards. Petals, wind, to your breath again. I did get my driver's license on the 4th try. I love hanging out with Savannah because Savannah is one of the few people who lets me drive her places. Because you don't have your license.
I have no idea what bad driving looks like. I'm
Exactly.
just like, whatever.
And I'm a great driver.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a great driver. I found a different way to fail the drive test every single time that I took it throughout my early 20s. I just got it last year. I grew up in Los Angeles, if you couldn't tell from like the twinge of dolphin in my voice. So I just got so good at scamming rides out of people. And Gabi, who couldn't be here tonight, also doesn't have her license. You just don't know. You have no frame of reference.
We don't have the fear.
Yeah,
you know?
None of my friends and family will ever let me drive them places because they think I'm a maniac for some reason, that I'm going like too slow and too fast simultaneously. But you appreciate all of the like superstitious rituals I must undertake before I feel safe to drive on the freeway.
I like your note on your dashboard.
Yeah, I used to have, when I first got my license, I had a note on my dashboard that said, no romance, no writing, just drive.
As if that was distracting to you.
So a lot of my poems are about walking around Los Angeles thinking about a crush really hard, which you shouldn't do while driving. You should not try and make yourself blush while driving. There are more important. I feel very aware that I'm operating heavy machinery while I'm driving in a way that no one else in LA does. But it really changed my writing process when I got my license. This is messed up. This poem's called Crush. Not that, but the firstest love in the old neighborhood that you would cross to walk the dog in front of her house just in case. The whole way there, your heart would shiver like a box of matches as you rush through the concrete churn of your city with the poodle mix and conspiracy to strut down the street whose name you never learned, knowing it by feel alone, your neck screwed to keep the other girl's house always in sight. What must be her bike, sprawled in the driveway, red curtains closed with light spilling out, or else open to a hall where she must drum her bare feet down to deeper rooms, where she'd sit on the kitchen counter with her girl legs dangling, or practice scales on the caramel cello she wheeled around school, her fingers tough from the strings. Never mind what you'd do if she actually saw you. Catch fire and die? You loved the bony knob, a green peach on the back of her neck, the sugar gap in her front teeth, the handful of inches she had on you, each a little star to wish on in the constellation you told of this girl, the subject of dandelion-blown prayers and lucky coins, every word she said to you polished into a song. Up one sidewalk, down the other, and the whole way back with nothing new to worship, but next time. Of course, her house was really on the next street over, which struck you long after you stopped watching the loquat tree where she didn't live bloom and rain. When someone does touch you finally, you leave the hot room with splinters between your hips. The late bus home glances past it, your best house, the blessed sidewalks pearly under streetlights, open as the first curve in a seashell, where the living thing had carved spirals with its living and then gone. You remember, being told it was the whole ocean rushing in the conch, when it was only your own pulse echoed, but you still hold it up and hear your blood sing. I wrote a lot of this book over quarantine when my best friend and I were living together, and we had this wonderful innovation where we would use White Claw as a mixer. And we were convinced because we were so young and beautiful that we didn't get hangovers, but it was really just because we were sleeping through whatever pain that combination would have brought us. And this next poem is she's actually calling me right now. Oh, Angel. This next poem is called Love Language, and it is for best friends. Any tenderness I know, you learned same as me, by sounding the sharp words out until you could hold them. We're still latchkey tomatoes, dirty vines tangled as hair running over dry earth, grown where we can, no trellis, no neat guide for our wanderings but each other. This smooth grammar of lip gloss and borrowed shirts, heads wild out the car windows, screaming inside a good song, stripping down to go jump right through a riptide, that push and pull another knowledge. When I'm deep in the waves, I can look at you treading these currents. Who else teaches you manners? To say no and mean it, how to cartwheel, but we can fall and find out. Oh, best friends, split this pomegranate and an hour with me. Call me when quiet is too thick to cut. Call me rabid with gossip. Call me when you get home. Sweethearts, did you know friendship and freedom carry the same root? Did you know that with water, under enough sun, even the most scraggle-toothed vegetable scrap can grow back again and again? What a garden here. What a syntax. Xylem poised as a group chat. Us scallions, yellow gold beets, melon radish, holy basil, us zucchini blossoms teaching the ground to laugh. I'm going to read one more and then pass it over to Miss Savannah. I got so much of my vocabulary and personality to this day from reading Lemony Snicket 10,000 times as a little kid, and the title of the next poem is very much inspired by that liturgy, Staircase Wit. Do you guys remember this from like reading those books and like heavily imprinting on it? Yeah, you have wonderful eyeliner also. Great. But Staircase was that sense that like the argument is already over, but as soon as you exit the room, you finally think of the perfect thing to say. Staircase Wit. It's spring, and everyone's joking about killing themselves again. You're getting better at moving through different cities without your eyes swinging to the blue dot of your being on the phone's map. Anywhere you go, it seems you just missed the cherry blossoms, dead receipts of petals on the ground, but you've never had a cleaner sense of direction. The cynicism has limped so far back around that you can take inspiration from hot sauce packets. You would like to live more. You've got a face to make in the mirror to check that you're cute, a preferred way to transcribe your laughter over text. You're at the age where you explain your politics naked about once a week. You are of the age where the mass murderers also grew up with mass murder drills. Traces of carbon-14 thread the cells of everybody you have ever known and everybody you will never meet because you are alive in the same world as atom bombs. Born as you were into real life at the top of the century, the future's headlines rise as water or ash or something else hard to breathe through. You know what to say now. You've been told it's too late. And on that super depressing note, I'm going to throw it over to Savannah.
Thank you. I love that poem. I think it rocks. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here on this post-rainy Saturday. It means a lot that you came out. I've never done this sitting down before. It's changed the energy for me dramatically. I feel like I'm telling some kind of scary story, which okay, wait. I really like it when billionaires have little girlfriends. Hold on, I'll elaborate on this point in just 1 second. I guess I think it's funny, given like infinite resources, effectively infinite wealth, infinite power, people still just have one craving, and it is for a little girlfriend. It fills me with determination, given how I'm typecast. I can't find this freaking poem, man. Hold on. Yeah, okay. So, given all that, as you can imagine, when the sexts were leaked of Jeffrey Bezos, it was like Christmas Day. I say sexts, they were a lot more PG than that. The tone was more like, oh, the things I would do to you. I can't quite go into what the things are right now, but oh, the things. And so, yeah, this poem, the second part of this poem was written only using words and phrases from the leaked sexts that Jeff Bezos sent to his then mistress, Lauren Sanchez, in 2019, now wife, so they worked. And I need you to know I did not invent the phrase, my alive girl. He said that. This is Jeff Bezos' sexts. 1. I enjoy those quick thought experiments meant to demonstrate the immense distance between million and billion, so I've come up with a new one, and here it is. Let's say the average female orgasm lasts for 20 seconds. Therefore, one could have 4,320 orgasms a day. Therefore, it would take 231 and a half days to have 1 million orgasms, which of course would be intense and might damage you irreparably. I don't know what happens to the body. I don't know what happens to the mind. I'm not sure you could move on from that. But to have 1 billion orgasms, you would need to be orgasming for 634 years, which is longer than America has existed. Longer than the good bits of Rome. Can you imagine being a medieval peasant and having the weirdest thing ever happen to you? Only to catch your breath and hear some magic glass say a man has landed on the moon, though it's probably a more positive or enjoyable way to be a person than some people have tried. 2. Yesterday, 6:49, my alive girl. I woke up with a tight feeling. Had coffee. Read the paper. I think I'll not be quite so gentle tomorrow. Yesterday, 6:50, you have to want it, alive girl. You have to fall asleep and wake up wanting it. Yesterday, 6:55, and I want to be with you. Yesterday, 10:34. I mean, I want to get to know you. Like I know the room of my heart when it's swollen to the size of the body. Yesterday, 16:13, alive girl, you were made to better me. You were made to turn me on. Yesterday, 21:12, tucked into bed. I'm thinking of your sleepy little laugh, the smell of fall, lips kissed gently with drunk competence. Yesterday, 21:30, not falling down drunk, just a little drunk. Yesterday, 21:49, I'm in love with you, alive girl. I will show you with my ideas, with my wanting. Yesterday, 22:11, did you plan for this? Yesterday, 22:55, basically, I have to have you with the very, very little I have. Yesterday, 23:14, and what is bigger than the heart? Today, 0012, alive girl, tell me. Today, 0015, alive girl, show me your gentle spirit. Today, 155, it's up to you not to breathe. Today, 222, love. Show love. 3, today, 1521, and it's just some right-aligned text that says, okay. Thank you very much. Oh, what a guy. Okay, so poetry, not sure. Not sure about it yet. I'm still trying to decide what my opinion is. Similarly, I'm just going to read this. It's called Poet Derogatory. And it opens with a real thing my ex-boyfriend said to me. Poet Derogatory. He likes my poems because it's interesting to see how differently we experience the same moment, which was a nice way to say I'm always overreacting. Meanwhile, I hate poems and myself for writing them. These monologues delivered in riddle by a troll who guards the bridge to a place no one even wants to go, like hell, or an open mic, where a further coalition of trolls guard further bridges. I try so hard. Spend hours on the word tongue, a comma. Look at this experimental maze intended for an animal both winged and extinct, and don't get me started on love, my term of endearment. Today I tried to tell you you're the chosen one in a long-dead language. Wrote an instruction manual for disabling an atom bomb in cipher. Blasted slow-growing peonies into space to move them closer to the sun. Why can't I just say it straight? I'm so in love with you, it makes me want to die. Understand. Anyway, we know words always win. I'm sorry, another lie. Sometimes they win, but often they lose. This is the truth. I have nothing else. Thank you. Trying to get my mic choreography down. You looked so like graceful and effortless when you were doing it. Why am I like floundering around?
Embrace the flounder. Just give it a...
This is when I do, so every time I've done this before, I'm standing. I keep like, it's like I'm complaining about it. I don't mind sitting down. But I like to do a little bit of the stand-up comedian wire flick. Are you familiar? With it? Everyone's like, we love the wire flick. I wish you were doing it right now.
Big cat toy.
Yeah. Go fetch, you know? Anyway, okay, hold on. So, I was in a relationship a couple of years ago where I was acting insane. And there were a great deal of reasons for this in retrospect. I didn't know what any of them were at the time, so I thought I was just an insane person. This will all make sense in a second. Okay. I forget what I normally say about this one. It's sad. That's all. This is called Sorry. New love has made me completely insane. At lunch, an old friend asks, insanely good? And I say, no, insane. Fearing betrayal makes me seem important and kingly, like someone worth assassinating. Every time a skeptic has prophetic dreams, a book is unwritten, science undiscovers a crucial equation, a star winks back into black nothing. Think of a sound so loud that it wakes up everyone on the planet, except the sound is only the thwack of your heart. Sweetie, you're the only one here. All I want is to be told that something that hasn't happened yet was always going to happen and there was nothing I could do. Once I lumbered into the kitchen ready to be difficult and mean and burnt myself on our old tea. I kept remaking it so it would be warm when you came down. Oh, you perfect idiot. I bet you did. Nothing gentler has ever happened. When I'm better, I'll find what went missing. The books, the equations, the stars, and give them straight to the boy in the kitchen that day. They're for him. Have it all. Thank you. Thank you. Do we want a funny one, or just this is how I'm choreographing my set? Do you guys want to like laugh, or do you want to like cry? That's so as if anyone would. Anyone crying? Do you want to? Is that that's even worse. Like a willing crier who's like, you haven't quite gotten me there yet, but I'm trying. Oh my god. Well, okay, here. This is I wrote this next poem after watching an episode of South Park, which is a rare and collectible sentence. Not many people are saying that one. But it was, I think it was an episode, it was kind of like tangentially related to Britney Spears and the phenomenon of like an it girl. And everyone being like, oh my god, I love this girl. And then suddenly being like, I want to fucking kill her. Which is grim, but this is kind of how it happens. It's crazy out there. And so this is called The Hottest Girl in the World with 5 exclamation marks. The hottest girl in the world is drinking gallons and gallons of oat milk and has completely undetectable scoliosis. She is wearing low-cut paradoxes and thinks about her boyfriend for a minimum of 9 hours in Earth Day. When she lifts her arms to stretch her spine, she reveals a belly button shaped like a coin slot to a vending machine that dispenses good time. She is vividly sexy and precious and dying like the coral reef as photographed for Playboy. She is moving to a city near you. She is online now and ready to chat. We know where she lives. She is Gorilla Grip. She is scarce resource. She is coquettishly pulling your terrible pint, and her tweets do not suck. We would kill ourselves for her. She's just passed the bar exam, and we're so very proud. She met your parents before you were born, and it went really well. Her many kinks include being tied up and then let go over and over, and she is coming just for you. Look, she's creating an OnlyFans to which everyone alive will subscribe. Breaking news. In a small town in nowhere, the new world's hottest girl was just born, and we have exclusive images of her delivery. Meanwhile, we have decided to crucify the old one. We are crucifying her in New York and in London. We are crucifying her on the cover of the Times. On TMZ, she's being asked what it feels like to hang there. Understand, there is nothing more important than the world's hottest girl, our glittery idiot savior, the exquisite God we despise. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. I guess around 2 years ago now, had a bit of, not like a thing with TikTok, but I was observing it. And I was taking notes. I guess I found it compelling how people so much sharing, people very willing to say insane things about themselves. You'll open it and it's a video of a teenage boy going like, I had a sex dream about my mom, Freud was right. and all the comments are like, me too, stay strong, brother. And you're like, what are you guys talking about? What club is this? And so that was interesting to me. Also, like the cyclical like phrase generating machine of like every 2 weeks there's like a new little thing everyone says. Those things combined, I thought it would be funny if any of that was like stuff that actually mattered. And so this is called Top Comment. I have never had an original experience in my life. I'd send this to my boyfriend, but you're too pretty. This world is full of the left and the leaving. A living machine only tries to answer hard questions correctly. Our fear harmonized like a grade school choir, trying and full of tomorrows. Once on vacation, I watched more than 1,000 people gather round a pier to take the exact same picture of the sun. I'm sure this breeze is related to the force that invented consciousness. Would you ever want to find out how many miracles you have left? Or do you want it to be a surprise? Everyone wants to know if it ever snowed in the town you grew up in. The thought of getting a drink with my mom when she was the age I am now makes me cry. In my childhood home, small pieces of skin float in the air and catch light rays like human confetti. My friends, I'll use my intelligence to love you better. Young geniuses, accidental astronauts, I'll get to the place where you are. Thank you very much. A little sip.
Little sip. Gotta stay hydrated.
Synchronized sip.
Yeah. I love hearing you read.
Thank you.
So much. What would you say is the relationship between poetry on the page and the I don't know. I value our friendship so much.
Oh no! What
No, but just like, okay, we've known each other since we were teenagers, since we were like bratty teen poets.
So bratty.
It's been like almost 10 years now,
Yes.
I think, and it's wonderful seeing you become more and more of a live performer. And I was hoping you could speak a little bit about that development, because like while, you know, we both grew up kind of filming ourselves read poems on camera and then uploading it to the smorgasbord of the internet, that's a very different experience from like being in a lovely, nicely lit room with lots of other people.
Yeah, totally. So I was not a natural performer. I got put through the ringer of the high school speech and debate association, like until I got good at it. So like this, if there's any amount of calm or coolness being projected now, that is not my natural state. I guess I was looking for something to like do with that, I guess. And I only started really like regularly performing poetry a couple of years ago, and it's been great. It's so different from, I guess, because I am so nervous before every single time, but as soon as everyone laughs the first time, I'm like, oh, it's totally fine, everything's cool, and people come and see. It's not like I'm performing for people who don't know who I am, kind of thing. So it's just going in with the assumption that everyone like wants to see me do well, I guess, has been good. And obviously getting like immediate feedback is exciting, and also scary when it doesn't go the way you anticipated it would. Also at the beginning you talked about like I guess the relationship from performing it versus how it sits on the page. I read some poems in ways that I didn't even think about when I was writing, just based on people's reactions. So even in like the Jeff Bezos one, I say tucked into bed like really quick like that, but that phrase is part of another line, so that isn't how I started reading it, but everyone laughed at that bit, so I just paused after. So getting to like, I don't know, I guess see it transform into something that is like ephemeral and in the moment, and we all get to like sit in a room together and do it. It's great.
Yeah, that kind of live response. I grew up performing live a lot. Whether with, as a reformed theater kid or with poetry, and that kind of conversational aspect of live performance is always so important, especially because this is a very funny book. And I've seen your poetry become funnier over the last few years.
It was not funny before.
Well, I mean, I think we were both like very serious goth teenagers.
Well, and I think sorry, this is going off what you were going to talk about. I guess I always wanted to do that, but I worried people wouldn't take it seriously, kind of thing. Like, or if I wasn't so, like, just fucking dour poet, like I'm so serious and like timeless, and it's so, I don't know. I guess, and I think I knew what you were gonna ask. What were you gonna ask?
Well, I don't know. I think it's. I mean, it's also a thing because we were both young women online, which is a great group of people that everyone likes to make fun of at any point, especially if you were like a sincere artsy teenager. These young women are destroying literature with their Instagram poetry and their up talk and all of that, right?
It's so because they go for the sincere ones as well, and those are the ones that can't handle it. Like, I'm so genuine.
I think I had a moment a few years ago of just being like, well, if there's already so much criticism and silliness, just embrace it, and like allowing my work, finding more freedom by taking my own work a little less seriously. And you have a wonderful theory about poetry and stand-up comedy. Oh, yeah. That I've really seen inform your writing practice over the few years.
My whole theory is that they're the same thing. Which isn't like, I'm not willing to defend that in a court of law, but whatever. It's, I was saying this to you, they both operate in zingers, so it's like these short little witticisms that I really think they translate almost exactly the same. You just don't see it as clearly with poetry, but I think like every poem should have a joke in it. I'm also not willing to defend that in a court of law. But just I don't know. I'm like a comedy lover. I grew up with like so much Whose Line Is It Anyway, and I feel everyone's like, yeah, I love those guys. And yeah, I don't know. It just sort of made sense to start doing that when I felt like I could give myself permission to do it via Hera Lindsay Bird, my favorite poet.
To be funny, yeah, she was a huge Hera Lindsay Bird, the wonderful New Zealand poet, was a huge influence on this book. What were the other literary foremothers that came into Closer Baby?
No, yeah. Well, so Hera Lindsay Bird, like Rhiannon said, great New Zealand poet. She's we were talking before. She writes, it seems like, simply from a place of mania, just all these very, very funny comparisons, seemingly unrelated ideas that all make total sense once you get to the end of it. And I thought it was so great, and still like so smart. And that was what made me feel like that was something I could do as well. When I first started writing Closer, I was reading a lot of Ada Limon, who's very yes, hard to describe, sort of an earthy whimsy very like lot of natural imagery, and that was I mean, more so for Sweet Dark, my collection before, maybe. And then with Closer, I kind of wanted to get into like the internet side of things. So by the end, and we were talking about this before, but I was reading so much Dennis Cooper, which it's like really deep internet lore snuff fiction, like crazy stuff, and I thought that was awesome, and I wanted to do some of that, and yeah.
And I think we both felt this kind of reticence, and it's something it's a trend I've noticed that I think is finally being reworked over the last few years, but there's a real reticence, I think, in poetry to write about technology and our relationship with technology. And it's funny, I see, people online posting all day where, lots of people on their phones, etc., right? But then everyone publishes poems about birds and trees. And it's not that those things have stopped existing, but I think there's a reticence to kind of grapple with these objects and admit the place that they have in our lives. And this, I mean, we, again, grew up online, always had this like kind of very wide-reaching and warm network online. But this is the first book where you've really grappled with the role of technology in your life. So what kind of pushed you to that?
No, like totally, like you said, there the reticence of talk, but also for some, I felt like if it was in my writing again, that it wouldn't let me be taken seriously, because I was like a young internet girl writing about the internet. It was like, oh, obviously, and so yeah, I thought I had to grapple with like these sort of ancient like topics of poeticism to be taken seriously. I had like a complex about this. I don't know if you can tell, but but no, it's I think it's because it's really difficult to do well. I think there was a time where so many like internet references were so like ham-fisted and disgusting that I think it's sort of like people are like, I'm gonna tweet you, and like I feel like I read like so much fiction where it wasn't done well too. I still need to read No One Is Talking About This. You've been sorry, that's a separate.
You would really like that as a Midwestern.
Oh,
Catholic
is that
girly?
Oh,
yeah,
I see. Okay.
Yeah, very much. I actually No One's Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. I love that book because it really touches on something. I don't know. I think so often that if I went back 200 years ago and I tried explaining to my great-great-grandfathers who were wacky, mystical rabbis that I am constantly connected to lots of other people on Earth, that I carry around this knowledge that's just this kind of collapse of space and time, they would understand it as almost this form of divinity, which is, and that's, I think that like in order to understand technology, a person needs to have some understanding of God and mysticism, which I think Patricia really captures in that book. And I think you also nudge at in this. I mean, poetry like allows for emotional logic, right? In a way that I think fiction, in a way that poetry is so well suited for. And I think there's been, I think more poetry about technology is so necessary because we still have very intensive emotional relationships to these things and these practices and routines, but we're not necessarily talking about it. I mean, I'm thinking specifically of a poem that you have in this that called Retroactive Jealousy that describes the experience of like stalking your current partner's ex-girlfriend, which
is a crazy thing to be able to do.
It is a crazy thing to be able to do.
You should not be able to do that. I think, and I guess, because the book at its core is about relationships, whether toxic or like search for vulnerability, tenderness, and so much of that is tied up in our experience with the internet now that it felt impossible not to address it, I guess. Because so much of the relationship I was in at the time like lived there and informed, like you said, my emotional experience with it. Like it was just impossible to ignore, I guess. It's terrifying. It's horrifying. You shouldn't be able to do that. It's not that like I'm not saying enact a law. I mean just like that's just crazy that can happen.
But people do, and I think, I don't know, the poem discussing it is that it helps undo a little bit of that shame by just admitting that it's a practice.
Oh yeah. No, don't be ashamed if you do. I mean like it's like God's fault. I don't know. It's yeah. It's well, and especially as I don't know, everyone has anxiety and everyone's freaking out, and it's I don't know, like the burden of infinite knowledge, especially when it comes to relationships, and I don't know, I just had a, I don't know, I'm thinking I can't tell you. Ask me another question.
Can we get a question from the audience? we have time for a couple of audience questions. Yes. How did Discord and...
Not at all. How does Discord and autism... What do you...
I grew with Judaism and Discord, and that intermingled. How did Discord and Catholicism intermingle into your poetry?
Discord is not involved in my poetry. Sorry, for the live stream, he's asking how Discord and Catholicism have influenced my poetry. Catholicism, I guess, sort of tendency. I mean, one of my like big writing mistakes is at the beginning, and a lot of people do this, is I could not stop using like religious iconography in my poems because I'm like, this is the deepest thing that anyone has ever discovered ever. And so a lot of I'm trying to think. We were just talking about like the sort of like I appreciate aesthetics. I think I associate that with Catholicism. Incredible aesthetics. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think you write very much in a confessional mode of talking publicly about relationships.
That's true, but I lied in confession. So maybe as penance
You're not
for.
supposed to say that. Do you think growing up on? I don't know. Maybe
He's gonna hear me.
He's gonna hear you. Yeah. Do you think growing up and producing so much on social media from such a young age made it easier to access this confessional form in your writing?
Oh yeah, no, I think so. Well, because I still will make videos where people are like, "You're like so brave to talk about this stuff," and I'm like, "Oh no, what did I say?" Like I think it's so second nature that I think I don't even realize sometimes that I'm sharing things that other people would be avert. But it's way easier. I cannot communicate in my close, intimate relationships at all. But for some reason, telling a bunch of strangers things is like totally fine. Yeah.
Does another stranger have a personal question for Savannah? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So as a girl who also grew up really online and also watched
Yeah, sure. She's asking how to keep social media from influencing your behavior, but I guess also from what you said before, sort of leaking into like the language of what you do, or even how you, I guess the way you like frame the world, maybe. Like unfollow everyone. You should unfollow everybody. And you should stop going on TikTok, and you should stop thinking about it, and you should read a book. Like, no, but it's evil. It's evil. It's awful. And as soon as you feel like you're getting stuck in like you're just like looking at shit and having no thoughts, like chuck it, like get rid of it. But it's like you have to think this actively, or else it won't. Yeah, just start thinking about how evil it is all the time, and then you won't like think about it anymore, or you'll think about it so much, and then you're like, that's how Catholicism then comes into play. Thank you. You're welcome. She thanked me for my answer to the live stream.
I think we might have time for one more. Yeah.
Hi, what do you look for in art, your own, and art you seek out?
She asked what we look for in our own art and what we seek out in other people's. I guess in my own, that it like is honest / evokes anything, and in other people's, I feel like I like when people are like really, really clever. Like you can tell that they've got a brain in their head. That's what I look for.
I think I look for sincerity and coherence. So a real attention to the relationship between the story that they're trying to tell and form, the form of how they're trying to say it. And it's something that I strive for in my own poems and my own writing as well, where I want every page from this book to feel like it could stand alone while still telling a full story throughout the whole collection. Anyone else? Yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, I guess just in the process of writing, like you're coming from a personal place and then you're kind of putting it out in the world. So it's like, what is it like being perceived in that way? I guess like the idea of like, I just, for me, myself, I'm like, don't perceive me ever. But then the idea of like being able to put something else out in the world that's like basically like you. How does that work for you?
Yeah, sure. She's asking, sorry, the rephrasing these questions has been like, I'm trying to do honor to you, but also accurately. She's asking, like, writing confessional work, how that feels to be perceived, basically. Do you have thoughts?
No, I think I don't know. I don't think I've really I wrote so many like very revealing slam poems when I was a teenager that I think I was kind of cured of it.
No, again, it's the thing of just like so much sharing right at the beginning that I sort of don't even think about it. I'm trying to. I guess it's you have to make a sort of conscious, because there is like a line, like it's not me just this is the contents of my soul. Like there is a point where you have to stop, I think, but that grows like increasingly. I don't know. It feels like I can say incredibly vulnerable things, but because it is in the frame of poetry with that like creative distance, it almost doesn't feel like I'm talking about me. It's the speaker. It's someone else. It's plausible deniability. I don't know.
Yeah, and whoever picks up your work will have their own very intimate relationship with it that you could never foresee.
I think it would be weird if honestly someone was like, I read your poem when you were talking about like your like. I don't think that's people's like relationship with art. I don't think that's how they engage with it, for sure.
First, I kind of want to preface my question by saying, like, Savannah, I've been watching your stuff since like 2013, 14, and I discovered you when I discovered John Green. So I did not say this.
Oh my God, was that your tweet? You were like 2016. I'm seeing John. I read my indirects.
But like, I do not say this lightly when I say you did change my brain chemistry. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And my question to you and Rhiannon for me, when I create or like make art or do anything, I don't really have immediate people around me that are as passionate or like love it the way that I do. So even when I share it with them, it's like more of a surface, oh, I love that for you, and then like they move on, but I don't. And it's like for like as long as I can remember, I've never really had a community where I could like depend on and like flourish, like bounce off each other. So I was just quite like wondering, how do you build a sustainable environment for you to create by yourself?
She's asking, I think you did it well, how to build a sustainable environment to create by yourself, or if you're a creative person surrounded by people who aren't creative. And I'm not a good person to ask this question to, because I love being by myself and having no one's opinion about anything. So Rhiannon might be, we were talking about community earlier, Rhiannon might be better suited.
Yeah, I mean, first, I do think that if you want to have a creative community around you, no matter where you are, there's always someone. There's always a friend or family member or workshop, somewhere in your neighborhood that you can find and get connected to. And I think also, so much of my own writing practice is trying to make little poems that I myself would want to read, even if I wasn't the person who was writing them originally, if I didn't know all of the backstory. And I think there's so many opportunities to just romanticize that relationship with yourself. Like every writing project that I start, I have a perfume associated with it that I wear while I'm working on it, or a piece of jewelry, or just a time of day. And there's so many opportunities to really fall in love with the process and the practice of honing that space for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's so fun to do by yourself. That might just, but I feel like you you need that isolation to think and like grow an idea. Like again, I'm such a cynic about this, but I feel like if you engage, like obviously it's good to have feedback and engage in like a group of other creative people. I think if you get too deep into it and you're constantly being like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? I think it doesn't give you room to grow in yourself as like a creative. Like you gotta just like lock yourself, like don't go out for 2 years and then like don't, but maybe you could like just don't. And I think that you need like your thoughts to marinate. That's my answer.
Okay, I think we're all done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yay.
Okay, so just some closing stuff from me. First, thank you all so much for coming out here tonight, and thanks to everyone who asked questions. For those who are interested, both Books Are Magic and Not a Cult, the publisher of these poetry collections, will have booths set up tomorrow for Brooklyn Book Festival, which is in this neighborhood. The bookstore will be at booth 309, and Not a Cult will be at booth 102. So check the little map on there and give us a little shout out tomorrow. Savannah will be signing and personalizing books. My coworker Amali is pointing to where that cubby is right now. Wonderful, pointing. So if you can just line up along the middle and take your personal belongings so we can start breaking down the space, that would be great. And if you need a bathroom, it's by the Moleskine Journals. Let's give these two one last round of applause.